Hello and welcome, I'm Raziel, and today it is Heresy Thursday, and it's not for Horus Heresy, it's Legions Imperialis, and it is two new super heavy tanks for your solo auxilia. I would like to see some Custody stuff now at this point, but okay, they're promoting Solo Auxilia. That's obviously a big release for Horus Heresy as well, and they have said they're tying the two games together, kind of, and that's not a bad thing. I quite like that. I think that's enjoyable when you can go from two different scales in a campaign and join them together in a narrative sense. I think that's really interesting. I've done it before. I remember years and years ago, and where me and my friends literally went from Battlefield Gothic to Epic to 40k to Inquisitor, and basically the end game was a game of Inquisitor, where I believe I had to steal some artifact, and he had to basically stop me from stealing it. It was an interesting game. Like, basically every scale went down, down, and down and we sort of focused on what the battle was. So during Battlefield Gothic, it was about planet, and the winner, which basically flipped the coin on which planet was where the war was taking place, and then Epic was bigger battles, and then we kind of chose an area of the battle which had a lot of the fighting. That's where 40k came into line, and finally Inquisitor. And it would be interesting now to put Kill Team into that now as well. But I do, like I said, I like doing that. I think it's an interesting part of the hobby when you can do a nice narrative campaign like that. It took us about 3 days to complete. We did kind of really tie down the points, and we didn't want big games. But anyway, here's a bit of my history gone. Anyway, it was a fun game. Anyway, you got two new tanks. You have the Shadow Sword and the Stormblade. And the Shadow Sword's first. Now, when I was looking at this and trying to kind of get into it, and when I see Legions Imperialis or Epic, whatever you want to call it, I'm trying to work out whether the models are made badly or they're just painted badly. And I'm coming to the conclusion that it's painted badly. I mean, it's still a high scale level. I'm not the best painter, but it definitely looks like there's issues with the painting. Now, let me get this straight. I just look at this and I see what I see, and I try to point it out to you guys, and trying to make a little bit of a joke and a bit of fun. But here it is. So I'm just going to talk about the paint a bit first, and then I'm going to talk about my thoughts on the models. Now, if you look at the tracks, you see how the tracks are all rounded here, here, and here. To me, that looks like too much paint. Again, here there's a rounded here. It's like the paint. There's just too much paint. It's rounding it off rather than keeping it nice and sharp. Because we can see it here. There's a nice sharp edge here, nice sharp edge here, but rounded, yeah. And just to add on to the fact that it looks like a bad paint job, it's these heavy bolters here. And while I was exploring this and looking at this, and I kind of realised something. These aren't two different models. They're the exact same model because they made the same mistake here as well. Look at the bolters there. It's like crazy eyes from Mr. Deeds. You just go, who's Steve Buscemi plays? That guy.
Time heals all things. Except these crazy eyes.
So yeah, I mean, I like the aesthetics. They look good. They look like they're meant to do. Take out knights and titans. And I think the good thing is that wrong one. Go here. The Legions Imperialis tends to seem to be having this dedicated price scheme, where everything is about 30 quid. As you can see here, Legions Imperialis Solo Auxiliary Infantry, a support, Malcadors, and the Baneblade Squadron, all £30 each. I'm not talking about these because these were from Aeronautica, obviously. So this is a good idea for me. So everything's the same price. But with its, what's it called? Let's make sure I get this right because it's important. It's Engine Killer 2. It can kill a knight in one shot. It can. Not without it will. It can. It automatically causes 2 unavoidable wounds straight away. I think obviously if it hits and penetrates, and they fail, you get 2 wounds automatically. And so it can take out a knight. And the Cerastus Knight, which I was looking at the point, might be the one they're talking about, is £22. So it's kind of thinking of as a financial point of view. It's taking out something that is costs less financially. Like Cerastus there. And that one, £27.50. So if you take out the Cerastus, you're kind of financially doing less damage. But if you're taking out this guy, if it can take out the Christoris Knight in one shot. That's going to feel really horrible because someone's going to spend £55 on 2 of those and them to be taken out on something that's half the price. It's actually quite funny in my opinion. And it's kind of cool because it does show that there is a definite... It does seem cheaper. It does seem financially better to go Sword Auxilia when it can do something so damaging to a much more expensive model. And I have no issues with that. I like it when Games Workshop does that. It's quite good. Okay? I do like the big volcano cannon. This looks really cool. The bolt guns here look cool as well. It looks like a cool looking model. Not going to complain about it at all. Like I said, it's just a paint job that kind of does my head in. So yeah, I quite like it. I think it's quite cool. So can't complain. Of course, now you also have the Stormblade with Titan Kraken power, has a demolisher as well. I do like this. This looks quite cool. But again, are they photoshopping these turrets on, or are they just swapping them around? Because you have the exact same mistake again here and here. So if you only painted these, or even just the bolt gun, let's have a look, or just the bolt gun, the cannon here, and just swapping this round. But look, this is what I mean. You can see the bad paint job. It looks just so thick and slathered on there. These guys are meant to be the professionals, the top class painters. And that doesn't even look level either. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to judge whether or not these are good models or not, because you can either look at the paint scheme and go, yeah, these aren't great paint scheme, but then when you look at this gun, it looks totally unlevel or uneven right here. And, because it's either been put on badly, and I'm just saying, is it good? Does it look good? And when I look at it, it's like, it doesn't really look that great. It's got las cannons there as well. And, I mean, as far as models go, they look alright. And at £30, you can see GW are trying to keep a consistent pricing within Legions Imperialis, which again is nothing to complain about. I'm not going to complain about them keeping a standard price through all models. And it means that, that hopefully it means it's more balanced as a game, because people who want to buy Sword Auxilia are going to spend the exact same money points per pound as someone who wants to collect Legion Astartes. Okay? So, again, this is not an issue up to me when they do that. So I think that's a good idea, and I think something they should be praised for. But when they're showing off their models and the painting skill is far lower than what you would expect from a high professional team, or that the modelling is slightly off, it does make me question whether or not Games Workshop are actually interested in this game at all. Whether or not they're just shoving it out, giving it to the newest guy on the paint team, saying, yeah, just paint that, do that, and, we're good. Rather than giving it to someone who actually does paint it. And that's the odd thing about this, because, like I said, if we go to some of the older models here, like this guy here. This is an older model. You can see that it's a much better paint. Everything's nice and sharp and well detailed. It's nice and crisp. The gun barrels are well made out. So yeah, it just seems a bit weird to me. So if we look at Horus Heresy, at the moment, yeah, I know I was stupid. Here we go. Siegebreaker console. I like this model. Okay. And if we go to this one here, just look at the detail and how well that head is painted, and how crisp the lines are, and how everything's absolutely crisp and smooth and lovely, and just, it looks like a good paint job. And then when you look at this guy, it's like night and day. It's not great, and I don't know why. It does feel like to me that they don't really care about this game, and they're just throwing it out and hoping it dies a death, especially now that Warpath's coming out. That's been fully funded. We have Armored Clash coming in the near future as well. That, during this scale of game, Games Workshop has actually entered a pool where they are no longer the big fish. There are bigger games, and people playing other games more than their game at this scale. Yes, GW is a big company, but this scale, player base probably goes to almost anyone else. And when I say smaller scale, I've got to really sort of exaggerate this. Stuff like Dystopian Wars, and of course we have Armada, from Mantic, and War Cradle. So they are coming into a gaming scale so late in the game where it has huge fan bases, and they're both well, Dystopian Wars especially is constantly producing great content and great models, and it's like Games Workshop aren't trying. And when you look, this is my problem with this, and I'm trying to be positive about this because I I like Horus Heresy, I like the storyline, I like that it's a narrative-based game. But when I'm trying to look at this and going, well, that's not a great paint job. It's obviously the paint's very thick here and here. That's a lot of paint. It's almost destroyed all the detail here. This is like a clearer picture. If you were selling a model and you know, or any sort of model, why would you put on that much paint that it covers up the detail itself? Why would you allow this? How did this pass any form of quality control for advertising? This is an advert for your company. This is an advert for this game. And then they release this as a picture. To me, it's a bit silly, and I don't know what else to say about it. And models look good, and they are well priced, because I actually have no issues with the pricing of Legions Imperialis. I have no issues with it. They are more expensive than Warpath will be, because Warpath Mantic does tend to provide a lot more miniatures for your buck. But at this point, I can't even say that Games Workshop scale models of the same scale are even better than Warpath. It's like they're no longer the top tier model anymore, and it's a bit of a shame. It is, and I kind of like it. I mean, the models look cool, but I can't see, like, this isn't going to convince me to get Legions Imperialis. This isn't going to make me go, hey, Legions Imperialis, I should get this because this model looks really cool. I look at this model and I'm going like, yeah, that doesn't look great. That doesn't look great. It doesn't. Like I said, what do you guys think? Do you think it's a paint job, bad models? Well, I really do want to hear your thoughts on this one. I say it all the time, but I do want to hear your thoughts. Do you think it's a bad paint job, or do you think it's just, bad models, or Games Workshop not caring about Legions Imperialis anymore? I'll see you all again soon in the next one. Link to Whaling Games down below as always if you wish to save some money on your Warhammer, Epic and everything else. Up to 20% off and free delivery after £20. There is also, what is it called? Forbidden Planet for comics, DVDs, etc., etc. And my merchandise as well. And I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye.